Welcome into On the Mark with me, Anita Marks. This podcast, this show today is going to get you locked and loaded, as I like to say, for the Knicks and the Boston Celtics tonight. We've got Tommy Beer, who's going to be joining us, author of Knicks Centric, and also he has his own podcast, What's on Tap, with Tommy Beer. See what he did there? It's actually quite clever. So we're going to do a deep dive into this Knicks-Boston Celtics matchup. As we know, the Knicks already won up on the series. Who would have thought? Actually, no one. Nobody gave the Knicks a shot. In fact, nobody thought that, the Knicks were going to get destroyed. Why are the Knicks even playing this series? They have no shot against Boston. Now, listen, I'm not sitting here saying that the Knicks are going to win the series, but man, did they show some grit? Did they show some heart? And so I am so stoked. Wow, I haven't used that word in a long time. I am so stoked for tonight's game. You have no idea. Cannot wait to break it down with Tommy Beer. We also have Dave McMenamin, who's going to be joining us. He does a phenomenal job at ESPN covering all things NBA, but he's going to bring us the Boston Celtics viewpoint, and we're going to talk all things NBA with him, because not only do we have the Knicks-Boston Celtics series in action, but boy, did you watch that Pacers game last night. They were down by 20 and 22, actually, I heard today, and they came back and won. So now they're up 2-0 in the series, taking 2 games in Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell was unbelievable, putting up 48 points, but Halliburton, what more can you say? This is a Pacers team. They've got a lot of grit. They've got a lot of fire. They were the more physical team. Halliburton was clutch. Hits that three-pointer with 1.1 seconds left in the game. And this was a Pacers team. They scored the final 8 points in 48 seconds. So you're saying that there is a chance? How do the Knicks not look at and watch that game last night, how the Pacers were able to come back and not feel like, all right, we can do it. If the Pacers can do it in Cleveland, I mean, Cavaliers, excellent team, right? If the Pacers can do it, we can do it. I think it gives the Knicks some added motivation, and also I think it strikes more fear in Boston. Boston cannot let the Knicks leave Boston, Beantown, 2-0 in the series. So really unbelievable start to the Pacers, and both those games were terrific. Later on in the evening, Warriors, they did beat the T-Wolves, not what I was expecting. I thought Minnesota was going to win that game. Warriors won it 99-88, but really the big storyline there is Steph Curry out with a hamstring injury. How long will he be out? Will he be able to play game 2? Here's another thing. I just came across this stat yesterday, and that is Jimmy Butler doesn't like playing in Minnesota. In fact, the T-Wolves fans call him General Soreness. Why? Because whatever teams, Jimmy's been somewhat of a journeyman, right? So whatever teams do return to Minnesota, that he returns to Minnesota on, he's inactive. And he hasn't, last night was the first time that he played a game in that arena in Minnesota in 4 years. And he doesn't typically do well. And his numbers weren't fantastic last night. They just weren't. I want to say he had 20 points, which, for any other Joe Schmo, okay, that's good. But for Jimmy Butler, playoff Jimmy, not so great. Warriors did a great job defensively, and they're going to have to continue to do that if Steph Curry is out. Because without Steph Curry, they are not going to be able to stay lockstep with Ant-Man, who, by the way, only put up 23 points. He was 9 for 22, 0 for 8 in the first half. He even came out and he said, this loss is on me. It's all my fault. So that's going to be an interesting series. How crazy is it that this is the first time in the history of the NBA that all 4 road teams won? All home teams are 0-1 in the series now. First time ever in the history of the NBA. So I think that's pretty cool. Again, later on tonight, we've got the Knicks and the Celtics. We've got Tommy, who's going to be joining us momentarily. We're going to do a deep dive into that matchup, get you in the know, locked and loaded for series wagers you can make, as well as game picks and plays as well. And then later on tonight, you've got the Nuggets going up against OKC. Nuggets as well, up 1-0. Who would have thunk, right? Like, they go the distance with the Houston Rockets. They go 7 games. You think they're coming in. Their tank is on empty. They're tired. I want to say they didn't even have like a day off. They had to turn around and like fly to OKC to take on the Thunder. But the Joker, how does he not win the MVP this year? How does he not win the MVP every year he's in the NBA? 42 points, 22 rebounds. 22 rebounds. He's just ridiculous. And not to take anything away from SGA, not taking anything away from him. But man, that the Thunder are the better team. I think Jokic is the best player on the court. That's my analysis. So if that's the case and you agree with me, how can he not win the MVP? Unfortunately, you can't wager on that any longer. That is off the board. But nonetheless, Holmgren and Hartenstein are no match for him. Now, they did get into a little foul trouble, and so both of them played less than 30 minutes. That can't happen later on tonight. But we're going to dive into this with Dave for sure. OKC up by 11 with less than 5 minutes left, and they fell apart. One might say bad coaching job, right? Like fouling Jokic and Gordon. Why would you do that? Well, we'll see how OKC responds tonight. But just really what an exciting time it is right now in the NBA. And the parity, again, considering all 4 road teams are now up 1-0 in the series. I think it makes for really, really good NBA play. Without further ado, let's get you into that Knicks-Boston series. Again, we got Tommy Beer who's joining us. So we've got a very special guest because we are diving right into this Knicks series. As we know, they're already up 1-0 in the series against the Boston Celtics. They shocked the world. Believe it or not, all 4 road teams have shocked the world. The first time in the history of the NBA that all 4 road teams won game 1. We'll get into that a little bit later. But Tommy Beer is joining us, author of Knicks Centric and What's on Tap with Tommy Beer. Tommy, great to have you on the show to do a deep dive, obviously in the series, as well as game 2 later on tonight. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, Anita?
Listen, I'm great. Knicks fans have to be ecstatic, right? Like, and very interesting. Heading into the series, no one gave the Knicks a shot, and I'm not saying that I did. However, I did talk on ESPN Bet that you could wager that the Knicks, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. If you thought that the Knicks were going to win this series, chances are it would have to go the distance. It would have to go 7 games. So if you thought the Knicks were going to win the series, you could wager that they win 4-3, take it to 7, and you could have gotten that on ESPN Bet at 11-1. I said do it, because here's what happens. If this Knicks team at least gets to game 7 and you're sitting there at game 6, you could hedge your bet at 11-1, still come out a winner. I'm just letting folks know right now that wager is still up, and it's at 9-1, which is still some good odds that you can, again, if you feel confident that the Knicks can at least get this series to 7, I think it's a very good strategy in how to wager. But nonetheless, I told folks, listen, I'm not sitting here saying that the Knicks are absolutely positively going to win this series, but give this team a damn chance. And at 11-1, I thought those were some good odds.
I thought they were supposed to get swept, Anita. What happened? I thought the Celtics would just roll the ball out on the court and the Knicks were going to give up. And, maybe a gentleman's sweep. If the Celtics felt lucky, they would give the Knicks 1 game if they felt generous. That's not what we saw in game 1. And certainly there are reasons for Knicks fans to be optimistic. As you note, there's still a ton of time left. I actually picked the Celtics in 7. That's certainly very much in the cards. Celtics could get hot again. They most likely will. We likely will see a progression to the mean. They're not going to miss 45 3-pointers, but they're still going to probably take a bunch, which makes it fascinating. I expect Joe Mazzulla to kind of double down on his strategy. He's been kind of looking to, get into this argument and have this conversation about the validity and shot quality, etc. So I don't expect much of a change in terms of approach. But I think if we're talking about the biggest reasons for Knicks fans to be optimistic, it's the health of the Celtics. Jaylen Brown does not look like himself. I understand he's not listed on the injury report. He's far from 100%. He doesn't have that same explosion, that same pop. Kristaps Porzingis listed as probable. Sounds like he'll go. We'll see. As we know, he missed 8 straight games with kind of a mysterious viral illness last month. We'll see if he can, last the series. Drew Holiday actually looked better than I expected him to do in Game 1, but does that hamstring hold up? So I think those are kind of some key factors in addition to how well the Knicks played and the tactical switches and adjustments that Tom Thibodeau made. Instead of reverting to that drop coverage, doing a little more switching. I think that's another reason why Knicks fans should be happy.
Let's not forget Hauser is injured as well. He injured his foot, so he's going to be out. Tatum looked great, but he is coming off of that wrist injury. So this is an injured Celtics team, right? Whether these players, as I like to call them, active and attractive, how attractive are they in regard to the minutes that they're going to be playing and of course what they're going to be contributing on the court. So yeah, check the box for the Knicks coming in fully healthy, even better than the Celtics team, that's for sure. Okay, so a few things I want to dive into looking back to Game 1 and what changes you think will happen in Game 2, okay? Celtics bouncing back. Let's be honest. We can expect that they're really pissed. Boston's a big sports town. I'm sure Sports Talk Radio's just been ripping this team left and right. They're tired of hearing about it. Could this be a revenge game? And the Pacers last night, coming back from being down 20-0, that's got to give the Knicks more help. Hey, listen, if the Pacers can take 2 in Cleveland, we could take 2 in Boston. And Boston saying, damn, you know what? We need to come out and guns need to be ablazing. What type of Celtics team do you think we're going to see from the start, Tommy?
Yeah, I think we're going to get the Celtics' best shot. I don't think they've had much motivation after winning the championship last year during the regular season. I don't think they were overly concerned with the Cavs getting the 1 seed. They rested guys when they need to. They didn't keep the foot on the gas pedal. I think they've been looking for a reason to kind of get invested. And even the third quarter of game 1, you can kind of tell that they seem lackadaisical. I don't want to say they settled for threes, but they didn't attack the basket nearly as much as they could have. Defensively, their rotations weren't as sharp. And I'll give you 2 numbers here, Anita. In Mazzulla's playoff career, the Celtics are 8-3 following a loss, including 4 straight wins. In Tibbs' playoff tenure with the Knicks are 6-11 following a win. So that just kind of speaks to motivation factor, coaching, all that stuff that goes into it. So I think the Knicks are going to get the Celtics' best shot. There's a reason they're a double-digit favorite. I would be very surprised if the Knicks can hang close. And then you got to just consider, obviously the Knicks aren't going to give a game away, but does that kind of mentality, hey, we already got one, we were looking to split, does that kind of seep into their subconscious at some point? So for that reason, I think the Celtics are understandably a heavy favorite.
I don't think they can allow that, right? Like you just can't be like, all right, we're happy. We got Game 1. Let's go back to the Garden. No. You went 0-4 against this team in the regular season. And why did they go 0-4? You know why? Celtics live and die by the 3. And you mentioned it not too long ago, Tommy, right? This is a team that took 60 3-pointers. Missed 45 of them. Here's an interesting stat for you as well. Celtics were 7 of 24, which is only 29%, with wide open threes. So there were 24, if you go back and look at the film, and of course I didn't, but this is what's out there statistically, there were 24 3-pointers that were uncontested, which I find really interesting. Was that a defensive tactic for the Knicks? I don't know. But do you feel that the Boston Celtics are going to come in with that same strategy? Because that is how they've beaten the Knicks. Game 1 of the regular season, 47%. Game 2, 48%. Game 3, 38%. Game 4, where it went to overtime, 38%. Do you think they come in with the same strategy going, oh, we just had an off night? Or do you think things change for them with their 3-point shooting?
I thought on ESPN this morning there was a really good back and forth between Greenberg and Windhorst, and Greeny said, if your fastball isn't working, you go to the best pitchers. The fastball isn't working, use your changeup. Maybe throw an off-speed pitch here and there to kind of keep the batters off balance. And Windy was like, nah, the Celtics are Mariano Rivera. You're going to get the splitter every time. Here, we know you know what's coming. Can you hit it? And Mariano Rivera, nobody ever hit it. There's more people have walked on the moon. That great stat. So I think we can expect. And Missoula, he's lived and died by the three. And when you win a championship, that kind of imbues confidence in you and makes you believe that we can do this again. So I don't expect much of a change in strategy. Listen, will they maybe attack the basket a little bit more if the opportunities are there? Yes, but I'd be really surprised if the Celtics didn't take at least 45, 50 3-pointers in this game. I think they may look to attack Brunson and use some kind of pick and roll stuff that they may have relied on, not quite as much as they would have liked. I think the Knicks now that the Celtics were curious, are the Knicks going to switch those high pick and rolls? Are they going to go into the drop coverage where we decimated them during the regular season? Okay, now we know that they're going to switch. Let's move some ball movement because the Celtics are at their best, not just when they're shooting threes, but when they're shooting good threes, and that comes off player movement, ball movement, cutting, slashing. A lot of their 3-point attempts were pull-up isolation-based 3-pointers, and I think that's what the Celtics want to avoid in Game 2.
Tommy, let's talk about the officiating, right? The first series against the Pistons, dudes let them play, right? Borderline wrestling match. And this is why I think the Knicks got into some foul trouble early on in the first game against Boston, because it was like, whoa, wait a minute. How are you calling the game now? And of course, Towns, he gets those 2 quick fouls. We saw him ride the bench. And then, of course, Mitch Robinson came in. Obviously, this team much different without Towns, definitely in the paint. But what do you think happens here with the Zebras coming into Game 2 in regard to how Game 1 was officiated?
Yeah, I think it's on the Knicks to adjust. They're not playing the grind it out, slug it out. I think Josh Hart joked that, the Pistons brought baseball bats to the series and we're kind of returning the favor against the Celtics. They got to be really careful, especially Cat. We know that the hack of Mitchell Robinson was very successful in Game 1. Mitch Rob just 3 for 10, did not look comfortable. He committed that take foul just to get out of the game. That has to worry you. If you're Tibbs, Precious Achiuwa, there's a reason he didn't play a second in the first round series, gave him 5 minutes, didn't do much in Game 1. So Cat has to avoid, particularly the ticky-tack fouls. Keep your hands up, stay vertical, be aggressive on those blitz, when you switch off and come to the top of the perimeter. But if you get beat, go into the basket, maybe give up a layup, maybe challenge it, but don't, it's more important for Cat to stay out of foul trouble because I don't think it's likely that the Knicks are going to win another game, or Game 2 at least, if Cat scores just 15 points. They need him to be involved and aggressive on the offensive end.
Yeah, absolutely. Towns, I just don't feel that Boston has the size or athleticism in the paint to defend Towns. I think he's a different animal. Here's the thing about Mitch Robinson. Horrible, obviously, from the free throw line. I don't quite get it. I put a tweet out while I was watching the game because I was so damn frustrated. But I think with him in the paint, it just changes the way that they're able to defensively attack the Boston Celtics and play better perimeter defense, trying to eliminate the 3-point shots, knowing that you have arguably one of the best rim protectors in the NBA, active and attractive. And of course, the one other game that we saw was that last game of the regular season where the Knicks went into overtime. My question to you is, do we live in a world tonight where we're going to see Towns and Mitch Robinson on the court at the same time?
I think we should. As you mentioned, despite the free throw struggles, Mitch Rob was actually a plus 13 in 20 minutes. That was the highest plus minus in that game. You certainly didn't get that feel watching the game and seeing him struggle at the line. But as you mentioned, the reason for that is because of the Knicks' defensive capabilities when he's on the floor. The perimeter players, the Josh Harts, the OGs, even Brunson can be a little more aggressive on the perimeter because they know they got Mitch Rob behind him protecting the paint. Worst case scenario, you chase the Celtics 3-point shooters off the line. They have to settle for mid-range jumpers instead of going right to the basket. And the Knicks will love to see the Celtics attack the mid-range. And then, playing together certainly presents some difficult choices for the Celtics to make. We saw that Kristaps Porzingis matched up with Josh Hart, and the Celtics put a smaller wing, whether it was Tatum. You saw Drew Holiday switch on to Cat sometimes. Whenever that's the case, the Knicks need to feed Towns in the post post and really get him some good looks so he can attack the basket, be aggressive, put those teams in foul trouble, and kind of flip the court. I would like to see that. We'll see if it happens.
Yeah, my dog obviously agrees with you. Pierre, get back in here. All right. And another thing I just want to make, this is interesting. I was talking to my good friend Paul Dottino this morning because he's a huge Knicks fan. And he said, interesting to see if Tibbs does put them on the court together early to get the Boston Celtics into foul trouble early. So later on in the game, they don't have a foul to give.
Totally. I was thinking about that too, because when you go to the Hack-a-Mitch, yes, you put him on the line, but you get, if he's, let's say, the first 4 minutes of the second quarter, you're already at 5 team fouls. That Brunson's light bulb's going to go off, and I'm going to start attacking the basket, and OG and McHale and Cat as well. So that's the strategy the Knicks may use if you're going to put Mitchell Robinson in the game. You do that at the start of the second quarter, so if they go to that Hack-a-Mitch, they have to play the rest of the quarter knowing that any foul they get anywhere in the court is going to send the Knicks to the line. I was thinking about that as well.
Exactly. Okay, all right, so before we let you go, let's talk about the game, and then I just want to get your thoughts on the series. So the game, the Knicks are getting 10.5, the over-under is 210.5. I like the Knicks getting the points, especially everything that we're hearing in regard to the Celtics not being 100% healthy. And I like the swag. I think Knicks are coming in like, hey, man, we won game 1. Like, let's go. So I like the Knicks getting the points. What side are you on there?
I'm there as well. I can see this kind of going in a couple directions. I think if the Knicks, I think it'll either be a close game, in the final couple possessions where, the Boston Garden gets really tight in the fourth quarter. There's also a world in which the Celtics, hit, 17 3-pointers on 25 attempts, in the first 15 minutes, and then kind of cruise and then keep their foot on the pedal, because the one thing we know is if they're up 20 in the third, they're not good. They're going to be very cognizant of the fact that the Knicks came back. That being said, as you mentioned, the Knicks, obviously, they're not playing with house money. They have to believe that they need to win this game. You can't take any games for granted in a 7-game series. But they also, a lot of talk about the Celtics, missed 45 3-pointers. That kind of generated the most highlights. The Knicks played anything but an A-plus game. There's a lot of room for improvement on that end as well. Jalen Brunson didn't have an effective shooting night. He missed a lot of shots he could take. They didn't properly utilize Karl Anthony Towns. Mikal Bridges was 2 for 12 before he hit that big corner 3. I expect him to play a lot better in this contest. You saw Deuce McBride kind of refined his stroke, and that's a big X factor, I think, because they're going to need him defensively. So I think Deuce McBride coming into game 2 with a lot of confidence is a big plus. So I think for that reason, and they're going to play their starters and, their 6 or 7 guys, heavy minutes. The team doesn't play again till Saturday, as if that mattered to Tibbs anyway. So, we know that this team is going to be prepared. This team is, Brunson, it starts with the kind of the head of the snake. I've learned not to take, not to put anything past JB. So, I'm leaning towards, taking the points as well, and hoping that the Knicks can keep it close.
Just to add to that, I want to say the Knicks were like a little over 50% from the free throw line.
Yep.
And we can expect them to do a lot better. At least I'm going to expect them to do a lot better. If we're expecting the Boston Celtics to do better from downtown, I'm expecting the Knicks to do better from the free throw line as well. Hence why I like the over tonight, Tommy, at 210.5. What say you? What side are you on?
Agree. I like the over as well. I think, again, a lot of talk has been made about the Celtics. Are they going to kind of tone down, slow the pace down? They took too many 3-pointers early in the shot clock. That's what they do. We followed this team for 2-3 years now under Mazzulla, under Brad Stevens, who constructed this roster by having 5 shooters on the floor at all times, which is the perfect way to play in today's NBA. They're not going to shy away from that. They're going to let it fly and push the pace. The Knicks on the flip side of the coin, in addition, it's really important that the Knicks get early baskets before the Celtics defense has a chance to get set. We know Josh Hart's going to push the tempo. Jalen Brunson did that more often than not. Live ball turnovers, we could see an increase in that. So I like the over as well.
All right, one final prop bet, and that's Josh Hart over 25 points, assists, and rebounds combined. He's averaging 10 rebounds per game. He's leading all guards in that category. This isn't, as we know, this isn't a deep Knicks team. We know the starters play 35 minutes, if not more, and he definitely contributes in regard to points and assists as well. So that's my favorite prop bet tonight heading into the matchup.
Love it. I thought that was my favorite bet heading into Game 1. The Celtics are going to dare Josh Hart to beat them. They're going to put Porzingis on him, and they're going to give him 6 feet of room. That doesn't necessarily mean he has to take 3-pointers. What he should do is attack Porzingis, get at his feet, get into his body, get to the free throw line. He gets a foot in the paint, sprays out the 3-point shooters. So he's going to get assists that way. He was, like you said, he was 3 for 6 from the free throw line. He's a better free throw shooter than that. And he's going to attack the boards, both offensively and defensively. So I love that RPA bet for Hart.
And last but not least, in regard to the futures bets in the series, Boston still favored to win the series, even though they're down 1-0 at minus 350. The Knicks at plus 280. For the series to go over 6.5. And you and I are both sitting here saying, yeah, we think it's going to go the distance. That's plus 180. But probably my favorite series wager is the Knicks plus 1.5 in the series. Now, they've already won one game. So what does that mean for folks out there that maybe you don't bet futures bets? It means the Knicks right now are sitting up on this series 2.5. So what does that mean? They only need to win 2 more games. They've got one more tonight at the Garden, the TD Garden. Then they come back home at the Garden here in New York. We live in a world where this Knicks team can win 2 more games, Tommy, and you could get that at even money. That's probably my favorite series futures bets for the Knicks. Knicks plus 1.5 in the series.
I like that a lot. I also, if you're a Knicks fan looking to have some fun, the Knicks winning the series in 6. Because if they go to 7, if you want to bet this, you obviously want to bet, if you're a Knicks fan, you hope the Knicks will win. Winning a Game 7 in the TD Garden against the defending champs. I don't put anything past Brunson and the guys. They can certainly do that, but they may have a better chance if they can somehow win 2 of these next 3, or 2 of these next, and get to a Game 6 at the Garden up 3-2. That certainly would make for an interesting night at MSG.
Tommy, so great talking Knicks with you. Such an exciting time for Knicks fans. I know so many follow you. They love your content, and we're blessed to have you on our podcast as well. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks so much for having me on, Anita.
So again, I want to thank Tommy for joining us. He's so awesome. I felt like I was just sitting back, like in a bar, sipping on some wine and just like chatting about the Knicks with Tommy. He's so cool to talk to. But just to recap, him and I both like the Knicks getting the 10.5 tonight. We're both on the over at 210.5. We love Josh Hart, 25, if not more, par. Points, assists, and rebounds combined. That's how we're playing the game tonight. In regard to the series, we both like the Knicks plus 1.5 in the series. All they have to do is win 2 more games, and you can get that at even money. And if you are a huge Knicks fans and you're like, I think the Knicks are going to take it and go the distance, you could wager that the series is going to go over 6.5 at plus 180. Without further ado, let's bring in our next guest, and that's Dave McMenamin from ESPN. All right, Dave, let's dive right into it. For the first time in the history of the NBA, all road teams take Game 1 in their series. Really unbelievable. And of course, that's the Golden State Warriors beating the T-Wolves 99-88. What were your thoughts in Game 1 besides the fact, obviously, Steph Curry with a hamstring injury?
Yeah, I mean, roughly the historical numbers are around 75% of teams that go in and win game 1 of a series win the series. So remarkable to see if that will hold up with these 4 road teams starting off these series with wins. But the Wolves were terrible shooting the basketball, like literally historically bad. Over the last 2 games that they played, closing out the Lakers in game 5, opening up against the Warriors in game 1, they go 12 for 76 from 3. It's the worst 2-game stretch from 3-point land in NBA playoff history. And so the fact that they could do that type of performance and still have it be a 9-point game in the fourth quarter is somewhat encouraging. Obviously, didn't really have a chance in game 1, but if you look ahead and you say there's no Steph Curry and the Warriors probably gave us their best shot, and we know we didn't play close to as good as our top level of basketball, the Wolves should feel relatively good about where they stand going into game 2.
Yeah, if you can kind of share with us what are you hearing about Curry? Obviously, hamstring issue is pretty serious, especially when you're talking about a basketball player. What's the latest on Curry?
Yeah, so obviously he played 13 minutes, scored 13 points, and then came up lame, grabbed that left hamstring of his, and had to exit the game. He's going to get an MRI, and once they get the results of the MRI, we'll find out the severity of the strain. Grade one, grade two, grade three. A grade one strain, you're talking, even if you're conservative about it, it's usually 7 to 10 days, and so the makeup of this series, there's a game every other day until you get to in between games 5 and 6, where there's a 3 day break. So if he can somehow, again, we don't know for sure how long he's going to miss. Steve Kerr basically said we're not anticipating to have him for game two. That's all we know for sure right now. But let's say it's a grade one strain. He's out 7 to 10 days, can rush himself back. Basically, he's going to need his teammates to win one more game without him. And if they can do so, you're going to be getting to play a game six at Chase Center in San Francisco with the home crowd behind him, with potentially Steph Curry returning to the court either to close out the series or extend it to a game seven.
The defense that we saw the Golden State Warriors play last night was really fantastic. Obviously, they needed it with Steph out. And also, I came across an interesting stat that Jimmy Butler typically doesn't perform well in Minnesota. And this is the first time that he actually suited up and played in Minnesota in like 4 years. So, what are your thoughts on game two?
Yeah, certainly. Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler were both tremendous. All aspects of the court. They both had two steals. They both were near double-digit rebounds, near double-digit assists. Jimmy scored 20, I believe, and Draymond at 18. So if they can replicate that all-around game, the Warriors will certainly have a chance. But you look at the Wolves, 0 for 10 to start the game from Anthony Edwards. That's an anomaly. He will play better than that. You had Dante DiVincenzo going 1 for 7 from three off the bench. Julius Randle, after having that super strong first round against the Lakers, where he averaged 22 on 48% shooting, he scores 18 on only 4 for 11 shooting, and he has as many turnovers in three as he did rebounds in three. And so all those guys can play better. You have the urgency factor as well. I anticipate this being a tied series headed back to Chase Center for game three.
I do agree with you. Also, let's talk about the Pacers and their series against the Cavs. They're up 2-0, and what a spectacular, unbelievable finish with Halliburton, deciding, taking that step back and going for that three with 1.1 seconds left. Your thoughts on that Pacers-Cavs series?
Yeah, I mean, one of the best missed free throws in the history of the Pacers franchise. The fact that he gets his own rebound afterwards and zigs out there, and Max Struskin, Ty Jerome, I should say, is on skates trying to stay in front of him and try to give a good contest, but just a better shot. It's an incredible night when you consider there's no DeAndre Hunter, there's no Evan Mobley, there's no Darius Garland, and Donovan Mitchell goes for 48 points and 9 assists and is going to be walking away from that game kicking himself because in the last 2.5 minutes he had a turnover and two missed free throws, and they weren't be able to protect a 7 point lead in order to try to tie that series up. I mean, Indiana has all the momentum in the world right now, and the Cavs are, quite frankly, in a world of trouble. We'll have to see, one, if those guys I mentioned can get back into the lineup, and two, just how shaken their confidence is going to be. Because you are talking about an Indiana team that went 3-1 against them in the regular season, and now have tacked on two more wins. That's 5-1. Like the Pacers are dominating this matchup right now, and you know that Gainsbury Fieldhouse will be a madhouse for Game Three.
So little known fact: Ginny Busek played flag football with me back in the day when she was one of the assistant coaches for the Sun, which was the women's WNBA team in Miami, and I would put together these 7-on-7 plays, and so I had I'd stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning putting these plays together. Anyway, a few years ago, like 2 years ago, she's like, "Hey, can you send me our playbook from our flag football days?" And I did. Anyway, she has implemented them into the Pacers offense.
Oh, wow.
And every now and then they'll run my flag football plays. and have immense success from it. So there's a big part of me. I just love Jenny Busek. She's amazing, and there's a really big part of me that I love watching the Pacers to see if I recognize a play that
There
they're
you go.
running that I may have engineered. So anyway, there's that. Let's talk about the Knicks and the Cavs and the Celtics going at it. Again, another team, the Knicks. Nobody giving the Knicks a shot to win this series. Not saying that they are, but man, did they show grit and determination in Game One? The Celtics way off in regard to their 3-point shooting. How do you expect them to correct that tonight?
Yeah, I mean the Celtics shot below 30% on open 3-point looks, where the defender is not within 4 to 5 feet, and then they shot under 30% on wide open 3-point looks, which were a defender's not within 7 to 10 feet. So you'd think that would have some sort of regression towards the mean. Obviously, the Celtics won the championship last season largely because of their marksmanship from the outside. But you also say for the Knicks side of things, Karl Anthony Towns, who saddled with foul trouble, was not anywhere close to as good as he can be. Now, obviously, it was a tremendous game from Jalen Brunson, and Mikal Bridges came up with in a huge overtime, not just the steal, but he had a corner three. He had other plays he was making on both ends of the court. But the Knicks are playing with house money right now, and you wonder if the Celtics will get a little tight. They don't want to face the same prospect that the Cleveland Cavaliers are facing right now, blowing both games one and two on their home court. And of course, the Celtics will have all that pressure shift to them, especially because they are the defending champs and they are a worthy defending champ. I think you talk to anyone going into these playoffs who you thought the favorite would be to win the championship this year, it would be Boston. And so I like the spot that the Knicks are in just because I think they'll be playing with all the confidence in the world.
Absolutely, and I don't think enough was discussed in regard to Mitch Robinson. Granted, we heard how the Boston Celtics dominated the Knicks in the regular season. They went 4-0. They shot over 38, almost 42% from downtown. Well, 3 of those 4 games, Mitch Robinson wasn't there because he was injured. And the one game that he did play, they went into overtime. And now this other game, granted, it's hack a Mitch. I get it. But they're actually I want to say it's plus 13 in regard to point differential when he's on the court and when he's not. I think Mitch Robinson could be the secret sauce for the Knicks to possibly get this series to go to 6 or 7. Last but not least, let's talk about the Nuggets and OKC. Again, another big surprise. I thought this Nuggets team was going to come in, Dave, gassed. They went the distance with the Rockets. But Jokic is just unbelievable. 42 points and 22 rebounds. Who does OKC have to defend him?
Yeah, no, they don't have anyone to defend him. And you saw it in the late game situation in game one where he caught the ball beyond the foul line, saw that Alex Caruso was guarding him, and just backed him up. And started posting him up from beyond the foul line all the way 2, 3 feet away from the basket, turned around, dropped it in. He had a face up three when they were down 115 to 111. He had Isaiah Hartenstein out on him, who's a big body, length, obviously a smart defender. He just rose up, fired, hit the three over him. Made a 1 point game at that point, which was a huge part of their comeback. Denver's found something here. Quite frankly, I didn't think they had it in them the way we saw them struggle in the regular season. Even when they trailed in the Clippers series, I didn't think they were going to get past that Clippers team, but certainly they are playing with a degree of pride and a comfort factor with their core, between Murray and Jokic. And obviously, Aaron Gordon's had a great playoffs, and Michael Porter Jr. has been up and down, but those guys believe in one another. When you win a championship, that doesn't go away. Ty Lue likes to say it's like a blood infusion among all the people that are involved in the championship for the rest of their lives, and so uh, that is going to be another tough matchup for OKC coming into tonight. And OKC, obviously, we saw it happen to them last year in the playoffs. They won all these games in the regular season, and they faced a Dallas team that just had a little bit more whether it was execution, whether it was camaraderie, whatever it was, got past them. So, OKC has a lot to prove in this game. And again, Denver's in a good spot in terms of they already went to OKC and accomplished what they wanted to do. They fought past their exhaustion from that 7 game series with the Clippers. They got a win, and we'll see if they'll be satisfied with that, or they can push this thing to a 2-0 lead.
The one thing that stands out to me is that the Joker always better at home than he is on the road, and for him to put up 42 and 22 against OKC in their arena and then bringing it back home, watch out. I think this is I'm really, listen, at the end of the day, I'm excited because I think we're looking at potentially, all 4, if maybe 3 of the 4 series really that potentially could go the distance and be extremely entertaining for a fun postseason in the NBA.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I think the next thing that needs to happen as the playoffs go on is Coach of the Year, Kenny Atkinson, calling up you to get the scouting report on those plays that the Pacers run so that the Cavs have a chance to advance.
Next time you see Jenny Busek, please let her know that I said.
Absolutely.
I text her. I text her like every pregame, like go get them, like let me know what plays you're using. But anyway, she's absolutely wonderful, and I'm so thrilled for her. And any woman, obviously representing in the NBA is such a huge success. So I'm really proud of her. Dave, thank you so much for your time. I know how busy you are. We're so fortunate that you were able to join us today. Thank you so much.
You got it. Thanks for having me, Anita.
All right, I want to thank Dave as well as Tommy for joining us on the podcast, getting you locked and loaded for tonight, and of course, a broader look at all things in the NBA and all 4 series that are taking place. Just to recap, this Nuggets OKC game, love the Joker, over 13.5 rebounds. He had 22 in game 1. Are you kidding me? And also Christian Braun, over 19.5 points, assists, and rebounds. He's being utilized big time. Michael Porter Jr., where's he gone? You don't say. Where is he? Have no idea. So Braun has had to step up in a big way, and I think he's going to get more minutes. I'm going to leave you with this. This is a fun series parlay that I've played. I jumped on this 2 days ago. Obviously, the lines keep changing because games are being played and whatnot, but this is what you can go to the window on right now. Follow me here. You can wager, and this is a series parlay, the Knicks plus 2.5 in the series. What does that mean? The Knicks just have to win one more game. One more game. They got 1 tonight, 2 back here at the Garden. The Knicks just have to win one more game, and you win that leg of the parlay. The Nuggets plus 2.5. Same thing. Nuggets just have to win one more game. They've got a game tonight, 2 back in Denver, and we all know the Joker plays so much better at home than he does on the road. The T-Wolves plus 1.5. Listen, I think with Steph Curry and that hamstring issue, and we don't know if he's going to be out, if he is, how long he's going to be out. But let's be honest, we know Steph Curry is the straw that stirs that drink. Jimmy Butler does not typically play well in Minnesota. I don't know what the hang-up is there. I think the T-Wolves win the series, even though they lost game 1. So I'm going to play them plus 1.5. So what does that mean? They just have to win 3 games, right? 3 games to win that leg of the series parlay. And then I got the Pacers winning the series. Okay, I got the Pacers winning the series. They're already up 2-0. They've got all the swag. They're heading back to Indianapolis. Dare I say, I think they're the better team now after watching them for 2 games. They've got the grit. They've got the fight. They don't give up. And Halliburton is so clutch. Not that Donovan Mitchell's not. But I've got the Pacers winning this series. Now, that series parlay you can get on ESPN Bet at plus 235. Here's another one for you. Maybe you feel like, hey, Anita, not really sure that the Pacers are going to win the series, but I think this series is going to go the distance, especially now that the Pacers are up 2-0. If you want to say, you want to throw in, instead of the Pacers winning the series, that series between the Pacers and the Cavs go the distance, goes 7 games, that parlay, plus 448. Plus 448. How about that? So some fun series parlays for you to dabble in if you choose. Hey, we thank you so much for tuning in to On the Mark. Really do appreciate it. We've got a lot coming your way this May. We've got the Preakness. We've got the PGA Championship, the second major of the season in golf, and also the NFL schedule release is coming your way. I want to say it's on the 13th. So once that schedule is out, we're going to do a deep dive into many, if not all, of the NFL teams and bring you those picks, those plays, over-unders. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. So definitely subscribe, like, comment on, of course, our podcast and our YouTube channel. We really do appreciate it. So thank you again for watching us on The Mark. I'm Anita Marks. Good night, everybody.